mbali nami. Ukweli ni kuwa uliposema hutaniacha kamwe, hivyo tu ndivyo unavyotenda. Na hulali pia waniwaza. Baba, nipe uvumilivu, uvumilivu. Baba, nipe uvumilivu, uvumilivu. Siku zangu zote nikungoje. Uvumilivu, uvumilivu, uvumilivu. Yesu, nitakungoja Yesu, nitakungoja, 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 ninakungoja Yesu, ninakungoja, 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 nitakungoja Yesu, nitakungoja, 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 ninakungoja Yesu, ninakungoja, 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 nitakungoja Yesu, nitakungoja, nitakungoja, nitakungoja. Baba, nitakungoja, oh Yesu, nitakungoja Yesu, nitakungoja, 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 nitakungoja.
A very good afternoon. Karibu sana to Midweek Vibes today. As usual, we are very excited to be coming live to you, talking about a very pertinent topic today on women and hormones. So invite your friends, invite your girlfriends, the ladies around your life that you know who are not joining us today, so that we get to discuss this matter together. And to help me do that, first of all, I'm Jasmine Wangai, yes. And to help me do that today, of course, we have a panel and my fellow host. First, you can start by saying hi to the people.
Hello, it's good to be here, and
Yes.
thank you for joining us this afternoon. We are delighted that you could join us. My name is Eunice Njoroge, and I have the pleasure to invite the doctor, our friend and our doctor.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
who will be telling us his name and what he does, and then we can start off from there.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Dr. Getahi Deuri. I am a physiologist, and many people ask, what is a physiologist?
Yes.
And a physiologist is just one, I guess, who loves looking at normal body function. And often when people have their bodies not working normally, the idea is to, how can you assist this person to get back to where their body is functioning normally?
Right, karibu sana
Asante.
Dr. Gitahi.
Thank you. To be honest, I didn't even know. I just knew Dr. Gitahi is a doctor. If you ask me,
Metabolism doctor. That's all I knew.
a doctor who is passionate, let's leave it there, right?
Sawa, sawa, we can work with that.
Yes,
Karibu.
but thank you, Jasmine, for introducing the topic. And we'll go right into it. I think it's one of the important topics for women, women and hormones. maybe we can get into a class setting, and Dr. You can just tell us what are hormones, what are their roles in the body. I think when we were growing up and in teenagehood, people just used to talk about hormones in almost a negative, a negative vibe, So what are their roles in the body, and why is this topic really, really critical and important to be discussing about?
Okay, so thank you. So hormones are just simply chemicals that are made by, we could call them organs, really, in the body. But what is more important about these chemicals is that they are carrying messages. And these messages have far-reaching implications. So think, for example, of adrenaline, which we all know. It's a message, and that message needs to be sent to the right person. In other words, the message has an addressee. And if that message gets to the addressee receives the message, translates it in a sense, and does what that message is conveying. So in the case of adrenaline, we all remember to fight or to flee. All right, so it's important that it gets to the right person, and then it's acted on correctly. So they are really, really important chemicals.
So, go ahead.
Yeah, so really, I think it's important to just get an understanding that hormones are really a positive aspect of our body. Because from childhood, even in puberty, when we talk about hormones, people address hormones in relation to the negative aspects of the adolescence.
Yes.
So we hardly know what's good about the hormones in our body from a layman's point.
Yes.
When you talk about women, you talk about the negative that happens. Hizo ni hormones zinamsumbua, you understand? Even during pregnancy. So what's positive about
everything about hormones? I mean, I don't want to jump the gun, but when we think about what makes women women, as distinct from males, males are so angular. There's something very square about us, whereas ladies are more soft, rounded, and whatever. That's a positive thing. You can imagine if we were created and we shared the same major hormone. It would be kind of strange. Yes, so no, hormones are really positive. I guess we'll be looking at it. The negative aspects about them might come into play when we have, for example, some form of imbalance.
I see.
Otherwise, again, hormones are just one of two means of which the body is able to communicate with different parts. The other one is a nervous system.
All right, I see. And I think you've already introduced what will lead to our second part of this question, and that's defining hormonal imbalance. I think it's very common. It's a very common phrase around our conversations, and especially women. And we would love to have a bit of light shed on that. So what's hormonal imbalance? And when we're talking about this imbalance, in regards to hormones, which is it an absence of a certain hormone? Is it one hormone that's more than the other? And then, what hormones are we talking about in this case? Is it the insulin? So which hormones are we addressing?
So when we talk about women's hormones, we're really looking at those hormones which influence, should I say, secondary sexual characteristic development. So we are looking at estrogen, for example. And that's, so men do secrete some estrogen, but at levels that are a fraction of what a woman who's gone through puberty is producing.
I see.
And that's what makes the difference. Whereas before puberty, boys and girls pretty much look the same, all right? Is it because of absence of a hormone? Very rarely would imbalance be because of absence of a hormone. It could happen, but that's really very rare.
I see.
I think what's most common is where you have a hormone that's not supposed to be dominant, domineering the show.
I see.
So the expression of that then produces characteristics which we are talking about, like the negative aspects. Yes.
Yeah. So when it comes to a woman,
Yes.
we will be talking about estrogen.
Yes,
progesterone,
definitely, that's
right?
one.
Yeah.
Progesterone hormone, which interestingly is neither a male hormone nor a female hormone,
Oh, really?
but progesterone is also at fundamental to a woman having a normal hormone balance, if I may put it that way.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we also have testosterone. So these, we may actually refer to them as reproductive hormones or sex hormones. So testosterone, many women are usually shocked or recoil when I say, yes, actually, you do secrete some testosterone.
Yes,
because
yeah.
we all know testosterone is male, and we associate it with muscles,
Yes.
beards,
Yeah,
a deep
yeah.
voice. But testosterone also very important in women. Maybe I could just mention what the role of
Absolutely, yeah,
testosterone
yeah,
in women.
yeah.
So number one, of course, is for building bones. All right.
see.
And
Okay.
for many women who want to have children, um, it's important that you have good bones before you even begin what having children. All right. And the other role of testosterone in women is the sex drive. All right, very important. Progesterone hormone, very, very important because it's what ensures that a woman is going to have a regular menstrual cycle. So if a lady's menstrual cycle is all over the place,
Yeah.
chances are
Yeah.
there is some issue with her progesterone levels. Now, progesterone doesn't stop there. Progesterone is also very important for bone building in women. Progesterone is also important for sex drive in women. Progesterone is a very calming hormone,
Oh,
all right?
okay.
And then progesterone, when it comes to reproductive health, after conception, when the sperm meets the egg, for implantation, our ladies' progesterone levels must actually go up. And they'll be up for the duration of the pregnancy. If that fails, then we end up with what? A miscarriage.
Miscarriage.
So
I see.
progesterone, lastly, I must say, it keeps estrogen in check. Too much woman, we tend to have problems. Yes, so progesterone keeps estrogen in check.
Okay, all right.
And then estrogen, of course, very important for making females look nice and soft and
I was gonna
rounded.
ask that,
The
okay.
skin glowing. You know, it's just a nurturing thing. And then, of course, estrogen is also really important where bleeding, the monthly bleeding in a
Yes.
lady is involved.
Is involved.
Yes.
I see. Lisa, you mentioned with testosterone.
Yes.
Did I say it right?
Testosterone, yes.
That one.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about it. When you said it's true, it's very shocking when you're told you
Yes.
have it.
Yes.
Like, oh wait, what are you trying to tell me?
Yes.
Let's talk about when the levels. But you said it's in a certain small amount.
It's in much smaller amounts in females.
Yeah,
Yes.
let's talk about when it increases
Okay.
to what would be considered abnormal
Yes.
medically.
Right.
What leads to that, and
Okay.
what are some of the effects of that?
Okay, so what could lead to that? I think one is where we tend to see, I think you've all heard about polycystic ovarian syndrome, all right? And so it's often associated where a female is really doing a lot of high sugar stuff. It sets off a whole chain of reactions. And one of the side effects is that we may tend to see abnormal or infrequency in ovulation. Because in ovulating, the covering of the egg is one of the building blocks for the hormone progesterone. So if a lady is ovulating infrequently, guess what happens to her progesterone levels? They drop. All right? If a lady is doing a lot of high sugar stuff, the juices, the sodas, the cakes, etc., the biscuits, and the chocolate, because I just have to have chocolate, it makes me feel good, all right? It sets off, you know, a whole cascade of events. So the hormone insulin goes up, and excess insulin all the time then causes a problem even with that ovulation. And generally then what we start seeing with that high testosterone is male-like characteristics. So you begin to see the development of facial hair in females. We may also tend to see a lot more of the acne. And as I said, very infrequent and painful menses could also follow. And of course, pushed to its extreme, we then begin to see what? Male pattern balding in females, hair loss, and after a while, you may not be able to distinguish between your brother and your sister. They may look very similar.
really?
And given that,
Yeah.
well, I'm joking, but it will make a female more masculine.
I see
Yes.
masculine traits
Yes.
and stuff.
Yep.
You know, as you were talking about chocolate, I saw Eunice over here cringe.
No, this one you're wrong, Jasmine. I'm not a sweet person. I'm not a
why
sweet
did you cringe?
tooth for my friend.
Okay.
She's very empathic, I think.
For my neighbor
Okay, I see.
and a friend.
It's a common thing. I think especially when we're talking about ladies, one of the ways it's known a guy can please a lady
Yes.
is bring rich flowers and chocolate. Chocolate is always there.
I'm so sorry for guys that are dating because if the girls are listening, that's so sad.
That's the side I know.
Yeah.
I've got a
Yeah.
girlfriend who has, even now, and I'm sure she's watching, she has a few chocolates in her handbag. No naming names.
No, 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 no.
No naming names. But you know, I'm beginning to get agitated about this sugar issue.
Yes.
You know, it's the first time, to be honest, I'm hearing about sugar in relation to hormones.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of times, you know, we'll hear about issues of weight,
Yes.
issues of diabetes.
Right.
No one will talk about hormones going haywire
Yes.
because of, you know, rewarding these bodies.
Yeah.
Surely they're the ones that serve us a little sugar, a little, you know, just here and there. So
Yes.
it's a very critical information that you've given us right there. And I think we need to take it
Yeah,
seriously
absolutely.
as women.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're
Yeah,
right. You're
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And you know, it's probably nice when you're talking in relation to hormonal imbalance. What causes that?
Yes.
You know,
Which one now? The craving for the sweets or the...
The hormonal imbalance, right?
yes, the hormonal
Yes.
imbalance.
Yeah.
Generally, when you're talking about high progesterone levels, estrogen levels, you know, what leads us there?
Yeah, well, the thing about hormones, they are complex on one hand, and then simple in terms of what they do for us. Beautiful things. But when we think about what can affect my hormones, so we've mentioned sugar, you know, so
Yeah,
what
one
you
of
eat,
the things,
very
yeah,
important. Stress, high stress is always associated with difficulties with hormones, because hormones are really like a fantastic orchestra or a jazz band or a band playing. If one of the people playing the instruments doesn't have his instrument well tuned, what does it sound like? It's awful, isn't it? So when you have, for example, someone living on the fast lane, high adrenaline junkie, it's going to cause over-secretion of particular hormones. And if those hormones are over-secreted, it will be at the expense of other hormones, perhaps not being secreted as they should be, or not being secreted at all. Already you begin what? An imbalance. So in relation to women's reproductive hormones, we want to have them in balance, because then the person is operating on the normal as
Yeah.
opposed to deviating from what is normal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And probably we can start by we can introduce the question on what then are the signs, some of the signs that we see in our bodies
Yes.
that indicate there's a hormonal imbalance.
Right.
And I can phrase it differently.
Yes.
You know, there's some things that happen in our bodies that we consider normal and
Yes.
kawaida.
Yes.
But really, from a discussion that we had earlier,
Yes.
there are an indication that something is wrong in your
Yes.
system. There's
Yes.
an hormonal imbalance.
Yes.
We could probably start discussing about that. What
Okay.
are some of the signs?
Okay, so again, even as I go into the signs, remember the imbalance is, should we call it like a spectrum? You know, you may have people who are highly imbalanced, and then
Okay,
others
okay.
who are just mildly
Mildly,
imbalanced,
okay.
and others maybe more moderately imbalanced. So it's a spectrum. But generally where you see a lot of anxiety in a female, that could be something that already begins to clue you in to some form of imbalance.
Oh, really?
And especially if this anxiety is very cyclical,
I see.
all right? Insomnia, all right? Again, And insomnia is interesting because most people think insomnia is where you cannot sleep. Actually, insomnia could be where you sleep, but you just have difficulty initiating the sleep. So it takes you an hour or two, all right? And in today's age and time, we find a lot of people are put to bed by what? Their cell phones, or I've got to listen to some music off my laptop in the background. I've met people who tell me I have to watch a little something, and that
fall
little
asleep.
something is watching a movie. Sounds like a drug to me, yeah? A little something. There's also where perhaps you find it easy to sleep, but you're not able to maintain the sleep.
Okay.
That's still insomnia.
So is that like you, after 2 hours, you're awake?
Yeah,
or?
yeah, okay. Or you maybe go to the bathroom, come back. Going to the bathroom has nothing to do with insomnia. But when you come back, you find it difficult to fall asleep.
I
All right,
see.
that's insomnia.
Okay.
Or where you find yourself, should I say, recurrently waking up prematurely. So you plan to wake up at 6 a.m., but you find yourself waking up at 4, and this is recurrent. All right, all those are different forms of insomnia. All right?
Yeah, I want to take you back a little bit, Daktari.
Yes.
You mentioned about anxiety. I have
Yes.
2 questions on the two.
Sure,
You've talked about
sure.
insomnia and anxiety.
Yes.
And my first is, when you say cyclic anxiety,
Yes.
what does it mean? Is it,
Right.
it keeps repeating, but how often is often
Okay.
for me to get concerned
Yes.
about
So
that?
cyclical here actually is in reference to where you are in your menstrual cycle. All right? If you're generally anxious, but towards the last few days before your menses, you're really anxious, and this is every month around the same time, that's cyclical. And we're like, this looks like, again, it's not absolute, but it looks like or is suggestive of hormonal imbalance. Yes.
Wow, interesting. I've never thought about that.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm even trying to now even want to define anxiety.
Yes.
I'm telling you.
Well, that's a really complex topic. But maybe generally I would say, is where you find yourself time to time or recurrently having this feeling of something is going to happen. It's not based on anything. In fact, 99.9% of the times, nothing happens. All right? That is not normal. So yes, that can be described as anxiety.
Wow.
And of course, it's important to find out, why am I anxious? It could be for very different reasons. I have exams coming up ahead. I'm
Yeah.
anxious because my organization is laying off people. I'm anxious. I mean, that's different. Yes.
Wow.
yeah,
All right. On the question of sleep,
Yes.
insomnia and all that, you've defined about probably waking up after several hours, finding difficult to sleep, or you sleep and then it's difficult to fall back again to sleep. There's also this one that's pretty common when we're discussing with people, and I think I've mentioned it before. You fall asleep, but when you wake up, it's like you are farming. You're
Okay.
fatigued, you're tired, your head is heavy, it's like you
Okay.
have a headache.
Yes.
What's that? Is it in relation to
Well,
hormonal
it's
imbalance
not
and all that?
necessarily insomnia because you are sleeping.
Also related to that, you're asleep, but a little part of you is conscious.
Yes. Yes.
It's like you haven't quite let go.
All right. So
Yeah.
that's in relation now to poor quality sleep because it's not deep. It's if you wake up and you feel like you've been farming or running or what have you, then it tells us that sleep is not restorative. So that's poor quality sleep.
see.
And guess what? That's going to have an impact on your hormone balance.
Wow.
So again, poor sleep is a real problem when it comes to causing hormonal imbalances.
Yeah.
And for both men and women. But I guess for women, because of the cycle every month, it perhaps looks more pronounced. Yes.
I see. All right. Wow. We can probably mention a few more when it
Okay,
comes to
sure.
the science. Yeah.
Painful breasts. Breasts shouldn't be painful. All right? And this is different from breast sensitivity just before the period. And even that in itself might be a signal that, hey, wait a minute, there's something a little off about my hormone balance. But where the breasts are painful, all right, or where the texture of the breast tissue is dense, it's like chapati dough, heavy and what have you, again, that's suggestive of some hormone imbalance. Headaches that occur, just before the period. Some people will tell you, look, how many days is your cycle? Or how can you tell when your cycle is about? When you're about to have your menses. And they're like, there's this headache that I get, and it's exactly right 1 inch left of my eyebrow or something like that. That's cyclical. There's something there, all right? But also what is referred to as PMS. And I think PMS is usually used in not very nice term. You're PMSing. And PMS is simply premenstrual syndrome. And this can take many shapes and forms.
Yeah.
So things like water retention. Do you find at a certain time in the month your clothes feel tighter?
Oh.
All right? Do you look puffy in the mirror? All right? Something there. Do you have mood swings? Are you irritable? Do you have cravings? All right? For certain things specifically at a certain time in the month.
Yeah.
All those are sort of just cues.
So normal.
I
Really,
know.
I'm getting confused a little.
Yes.
I'm also
so
processing them as
normal.
he's
Yeah.
stating them.
Yep.
Yeah.
So normal here, they may look normal because they are common,
They are common, yeah.
but that is not the way the body should be functioning. So
I
there's
see.
a little detour
Yeah.
of what is normal. So
Yeah.
that's what we are saying. You know what? There seems like there is some form of hormone imbalance.
I see.
Yes.
I see. All right.
All right.
There's also another one. Dr. told me a while back, it's painful ovulation.
Yes, yeah. So if the ovulation, it should be something, some form of light discomfort. But if the ovulation is painful, again, it's sort of a signal, something
There's
off
something
here.
that needs to be
Yeah.
checked. I see.
Miscarriages in the first trimester, again, sounds like there's some issue there. Your memory is really bad. You're beginning to find it difficult to make simple calculations. You feel sad. You feel fatigued and sad at the same time.
Yeah.
All right? Those are all sort of indicators.
Wow.
Things like you feel weepy. And weepy here being, I feel like crying, and I have no idea why I feel this way. And this is not once a year. This is something that happens recurrently.
I see.
Yeah? All these are just,
I see.
my hair is falling off. I have dry skin. I have some hairs that are growing on my chin. I have acne, cystic acne at a certain time in the month. All these are just sort of signals that perhaps there might be some form of hormonal imbalance.
Wow,
Yep.
thank you, Dr. This is really profound and
and-
enlightening.
Yeah.
And what we want to do, we'll take a short break.
Okay.
We want to take a short break, and then we'll come back and continue with these conversations and ask ourselves, are there what are the most signs that, because some of these are pretty common, you
Yep.
think this is how life is, but what's the solution? What are the remedies? Is there a way out for us
Yeah.
when it comes to this? So
Okay.
see you soon.
Let your light so shine that men may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. I am a city set on a hill that cannot be hid, and I am more. I am. Let your light so shine that men may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. I am a city set on a hill that cannot be hid, and I am more than a conqueror. See, See, but you have been trying to convince me otherwise, saying I'm not good enough, not smart enough. You're always putting me down. Say you never wanna see me smile. But Jesus said I am the salt of the earth, and he says I am the light of this world. So I won't listen to you no more. I will believe in the report of the Lord. Now hear me say, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. I will show the world what I carry, to the glory of the Most High God. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. I will show the world what I carry, to the glory of the Most High God. Say I don't know why I believe the lies that you say about me. All you do is take away my joy, my peace, my blessings and happiness. I am ready for the next level. I am ready to go up higher. I am done with all this backwardness and stagnation. No more backwardness, no more stagnation. I said I am ready for the next level. I am ready to go up higher. I am done with all this backwardness and stagnation. No more backwardness, no more stagnation. Say this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. I will show the world what I carry, to the glory of the Most. This little light, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. I will show the world what I carry, to the glory of the Most High God. Oh, let your light shine. Hey, let your light shine. Let your light shine, to the glory of the Most High God. Go on, hey, let your light shine. Go, let your light shine. Let it shine, to the glory of the Most High. Yeah. Let your light shine. Go, let your light shine. Let it shine, to the glory of the Most High God. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. I will show the world what I carry, to the glory of the Most High God. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. I will show the world what I carry, to the glory of the Most High God. This little light of mine, say I'm gonna let it shine. I will show the world what I carry, to the glory of the Most High God. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. I will show the world what I carry, to the glory of the Most High God. A city set on a hill that cannot be hid, and I am more than a conqueror. See, but you have been trying to convince.
I must have the Savior with me, for I
Sana, again, a joy and an honor to have you joining us today as we talk on this pertinent question on women and hormones. And as we continue this conversation, before that, we'd like to say hi to a few people who are joining us, but also read a question that I've seen someone is sending us. And this happens to be Susan Dungu. She's saying, she first of all says, progesterone keeps estrogen in check. This sounds like a nice caption for something. Good to know. That's what she said. Thank you, Susan Dungu, for joining us. And then she has a question. To what extent is femininity behavior a result of hormones? Or does cultural exposure got something to it to a large extent? Do hormones affect behavior, or is it simply a physical effect? Dr. Ari, I guess that's for you.
Okay, the culture bit is a bit of a curveball. But yes, of course, culture, the cultures are made up or make up societies, or is it societies make up culture? But it's a bit of both. But, there are certain expectations depending on what culture you are in. Expectations of a man, expectations of a woman. Hormones will not play any role in that. But in terms of behavior, yes, hormones can play a huge role in behavior.
Yeah.
So if you have, for example, a male who produces low levels of testosterone or none, there'll be very feminine-like characteristics in that man. Even physically, we may see development of breasts, we may see development of hips, the voice will be high-pitched. So yes, hormones can, and again, high testosterone in a male or extra high testosterone in a male, you'll see more aggressive behavior. All right, so yes, hormones do play a role in relation to behavior.
Yeah.
Mood swings, what are they? An excess of a certain hormone and maybe very little of another hormone. So yes, they can shape behavior.
I see.
Yes.
Wow.
But that's not licensed to do anything,
Whatever.
anytime,
Yeah.
just and blame it on the poor hormones.
Yes.
Yeah, you won't get away with it culturally.
Yes, yes.
And before we took the break, we were on that list that shocked Jasmine and I on some of the things some of the experiences that we undergo, assuming that they are normal because we've lived with them. And in essence, we're realizing now that they are abnormal. I wonder if you have a little more, but as you tell us more on the list, I'm wondering if issues of, say, for example, illness and medication can contribute to hormonal imbalances in our bodies, especially women.
Okay, all right. So yes, I think there are so many symptoms that may suggest one is hormonally imbalanced. And maybe that's what makes it a little more complex. So if we think about things like women complaining that their sex drive has fallen off the edge of the earth, we can suspect there is a hormonal issue. Vaginal dryness, that's a hormonal issue. Recurrent urinary tract infections, again, that might be a tract to follow. Could it be because there's some hormonal imbalance?
Yeah.
Painful intercourse. Fatigue, foggy mindedness, which is a pretty common occurrence these days, all right? Again, it's cyclical, all right? We begin to suspect, could this be hormonal?
Yeah.
You may have ladies, especially in their fourth decade, complaining about palpitations. And of course, they get very worried because usually the thought is, if I'm having palpitations, I'm about to do what? To have a heart attack. All right? It could be that those palpitations also are as a result of what? Some hormonal imbalance. Yes, so again, these are suggestive. They are not a hard and fast rule to say, therefore, because I have these symptoms, I am. Something a little more needs to be done to explore and be able to actually say, look, given these results, yes, we can now say that there is a hormonal imbalance. Yes.
Yeah, another common one, and these I work with young people, and especially teenagers, and you mentioned mood swings when
Yes.
you were reading the question. Can we explore a little more
Yes.
on that? I had someone ask me, do girls just decide to get away with that, you know?
Yes.
Today I just don't feel like, or
Yes.
to what extent is it a hormonal imbalance issue?
We don't know, I guess, unless you know the individual.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, sometimes it can be so overwhelming that the individual actually has no idea why they're behaving in such and such a way. So it could be withdrawal, it could be euphoria, it could be anxiety, and of course, all these are deviating from what the person is known to be regularly. Then again, we begin to wonder what's going on here. All right? Yes.
Wow.
So I think there's a point I've missed right there in terms of if someone lists, the list was long, but if someone lists a little bit of those
Yeah.
and suspects that they could be struggling with hormonal imbalance, so what's the course of action? Because we've never had anyone go to the hospital and say the problem is, okay, well, I have never had
Yes.
that someone is struggling with hormonal imbalance
Yes.
enough for testing. What do they do? Do they
Yeah.
see a doctor,
Yeah.
present their symptoms, and then you probably look if it's something temporal, it's periodic, maybe they have a child in class 8 and they are the ones feeling like they're sitting exam other than the child, and it will soon wear off.
Right, right.
What do people do?
Yeah. So it's an interesting one because I think we've sort of relegated the sex hormones to purely just reproduction. So one would be seeking professional help when, for example, they are not conceiving, when their periods are irregular, or when their periods are extremely painful or absent. That's when now people begin to present to a professional for assistance. But just from our discussion, these hormones go way beyond reproduction. Yes. So the step is, again, if many of those symptoms sort of you've ticked and they're describing you, and they're not, if they are on the decrease, that's a good thing. If they are stable or are increasing in intensity, then certainly there is something off. So it's to seek for professional help from people who understand the hormones. All right, so whether it's endocrinologist, most ladies will run to their gynecologist, all right? And it's a starting point and it's important. I think it's really important for people to have a general practitioner who knows them inside out so that they're able to even identify those symptoms in the individual before the individual does what? Has identified them. And then to say, look, it looks like there's an issue here. Let us send you for these tests or send you off to someone who can help you. Just explore this a little bit more. Yes. And also people close to you, developing relationships that allow for people to say, hey, look, this is becoming like a pattern. And these mood swings are, your anxiety is driving us all off the cliff. Yes. Yes.
Wow. You want to go? Okay. I wanted to ask, Eunice hinted something, a question when we were beginning this session on effects of some of the medication we take on hormones and how, so are there medications or dawas or pills that people take that lead people into the trajectory of hormonal imbalance, and what do we do in those cases?
All right. So again, there's a reason why medicines are closely regulated, because these are chemicals or compounds, first of all, that are alien to the human body. And so their use must be closely monitored and things like that. So even the thought of, because I'm having painful menses, I can go and buy an over-the-counter medication. Just because it's over-the-counter doesn't mean it's what? It can be used ad libitum, or that it's safe, all right? Because drugs can cause problems, all right? Then, of course, there's the much abused emergency contraception pill, all right? That has huge effects on hormones. Hormonal contraceptives also, because they're structurally or molecularly, they're different from what your body makes. So
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
because they can be used and because they are effective at preventing pregnancy, does not mean they cannot have an effect on what? On your hormone balance.
Yeah.
And there's a whole range of different medications that people are on prescriptively or self-prescription.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Quite sad to just realize how many people's quality of life is affected.
Yeah.
Social interactions, input at work because of the hormonal imbalance, and yet we look at them in the society and judge them. Sipendi kuongea na Jasmine akona issues na na mood swings, you know, or this person, you know, has suddenly become lazy. Why are they not performing? Mweke kwa PIP. This person has been struggling with
Yeah.
with insomnia, for example.
Yes, yes, yes.
Is
Fatigue is another
fatigued,
one.
Yes.
you know, has become foggy,
Yes.
you know. Suddenly, you know, she has decided to withhold information. Kumbe someone has forgotten.
Yes.
You know, someone can't report to work in good time.
Yes.
Because they spent like 6 hours a week. They slept,
Yes.
probably slept, woke up in
Yeah.
the night.
Yeah.
Amepata usingizi 5
Yes.
o'clock.
Yes.
And a lot of time, I'm listening to you and thinking, in the society we tend to judge,
Yes.
other than try and collate all those things and see
Right.
what could we do to help these people?
Yeah.
Because I think culturally in Kenya, you go to see a doctor because you have someone you can point where you're
Yes.
feeling sick,
Yes.
not things you're suspecting.
Yeah.
I'm waking up in the night. That's not an illness. How is it an illness? Save that money, buy land. You
Yes.
know, but yet people need to be guided to see
Yeah.
the doctor. People need to be guided to listen to their bodies more and notice even character change
Right.
and you know, seek help.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Daktari, as Eunice is talking about that, the other thing that comes to mind, which we had talked about a little earlier, is the question on hormonal imbalance.
Yes.
Menopause. How does that journey look like?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess maybe this starts after adolescence, or you know, as one enters adolescence, because you suddenly have certain hormones dictating. You know, breasts now begin to grow. Every month there is a period and things like that. And of course, the first few years of that might be a little unsteady, but then it begins to even out. And all seems well if all things are held constant. And we'll get into a little bit about what are some of the things that can cause these hormonal imbalances. But from about the age of 30 again, maybe all the way until age 50, we could actually refer to that as premenopause.
Scary.
All right?
Right.
Because you're heading there.
Yeah.
All right. When you're in pre-primary, it's, you know, it's the run-up to what? To joining primary school.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So it's not something that scary.
Yeah.
And then perhaps the most confusing phase is perimenopause. So
Please define that phase.
so perimenopause is just before menopause. So peri again, you know, you may have symptoms that are really suggesting that you're menopausal, but at the same time there's certain things happening that clearly show you're not menopausal. For example, you're having a period, whether it's every 2 months, every 3 months, you're still not menopausal. All right? And then finally, when there is cessation of the menses for at least a year, it then looks like now you've entered what?
Yeah.
Menopause.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's should we say there's a journey. It's really a journey. And each of them is exciting. Each of them has a role and a purpose.
Yeah.
And I think the more we understand our bodies, the better it is for us. But for us to also understand our bodies, it means we need to be at peace with ourselves. Because if you're not at peace with yourself, then it's difficult to even tell that there is a change in your body especially if it is subtle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. And I think that now we can head on to the causes of
All right.
hormonal imbalance.
Okay.
So that we shed a lot more light and see if this is what is causing.
Yes.
I think it would help me understand what then can I do.
Yeah.
Is there something that I can do about it?
Okay.
Are there remedies for it?
All right. So of
Yeah.
course there may be very many causes, right at the beginning of the program we mentioned, for example, what you're eating. So if you find you have this tendency to find yourself heading to where there are sweet things, likely, even if you do not have a hormonal imbalance, it's likely you will end up having what? A hormonal imbalance. All right? We've alluded to the role of sleep. Poor sleep or lack of sleep or sleep that's not restorative, we are likely going to have what? A hormonal imbalance.
Yeah.
All right? We've talked about medicines. All right? Toxic environments.
What is a toxic environment?
So this
is
could
it
be.
toxic people?
So thank you. That's exactly what I wanted to say, and I was looking for a diplomatic way of conveying the same. So toxic relationships, toxic work environments, toxic
you are
home
serious?
environments.
Yeah.
These are really going to cause a lot of stress, and probably you'll be secreting a different hormone in very high quantities, cortisol. High cortisol will throw off the hypothalamus, which talks to the pituitary every month and tells it, look, you need to release this hormone because it needs to speak to the ovary on duty to do the following.
Hapo nimesikia kizungumkuti.
Okay.
Let's go slowly.
All right, sorry.
I've had
So
pituitary,
cortisol
hypothalamus.
is just a stress hormone. It's not a bad thing because it's called a stress hormone. But if you're in a toxic environment where you're always feeling this knot in your stomach, where you're always feeling you need to defend yourself, where you always feel like every day is a fight,
Yeah.
that's not a normal, healthy,
Yeah.
helpful, nurturing environment. That's going to have an effect on you. And one of the effects will be where we see your reproductive hormones actually playing tricks. So then we end up with what? Some form of a hormonal imbalance. But there's also what we call toxins in the environment. So different from people, places,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Where are these toxins? So this might be in, for example, the plastics that we are using to carry goods from one place to another, packaging of goods. I see people microwaving food in plastics, okay? That releases something.
Coffee.
All right? You've all heard of bisphenol A in plastics. It's a plasticizer, all right? Makes the plastic more pliable, all right? But as you're consuming things that are packaged in that, you are actually imbibing some of what? That, all right? The plastics. You smoke. You live with a smoker. You feel that you strongly need to promote tobacco farmers, all right? That's releasing toxins. Agrochemical residues on foodstuffs, all right? I'm excited that I think the Senate has actually issued a stand, has issued a statement and is actually requiring results from 3 bodies that regulate different chemicals used in growing food in this country, all right? Because when you're eating food that has remnants or residues of these chemicals in the food, that's going to have an effect on our hormones, all right? Where we have noise pollution, air pollution, all right? Things that especially ladies are using on their skins, on their fingernails, all right? Remember, the skin absorbs a lot of what you apply on the skin. So if these things that you're applying on your skin have chemical names that you did not even study when you are studying chemistry, you really do need to think and ask yourselves, could it be possible that these things are actually going to cause what? Some hormone imbalance. All right?
Okay, let's get practical here. Every household has a microwave.
Yes.
And I think a microwave has become every family's best friend.
Yes.
You've just talked about warming food
In plastic.
in plastics. You can tell I'm trying to move away from the ladies and
From
the
the
things
ladies
that
and
we...
the
Yes.
yeah, let's not get too personal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it the ladies who warm the food for the family in the microwave?
We can blame them that way, not on what they put on their skin.
Yeah.
We can come to that, by the way.
Yeah.
But what practical advice would you tell us? Because I think in terms of our advancement, we are not about to put away microwaves. In essence, we should cook food and put it on the table, eat it. But the way the world is going, it's not looking practical. We'll get to our houses late.
Yeah.
We will still
Yeah.
need the I don't want
I'm
the
tired.
food in
There's
the
no
sufuria.
time
It
to
changes
cook
the
again.
taste. What would we do?
Again, it's just choices. Is that the only way of heating food? Maybe not. In fact, actually, microwaves are relatively new for us, right? So again, it's just making choices. And I think maybe the starting point is, what do I want my health to look like now, 5 years down the road? And then what things do I need to tweak here and there to ensure that everything about my lifestyle is aligned with what? With good health.
Yeah.
5 years down the road, 20 years down the road, 40 years down the road especially. Because when you're young, there's a lot you can take for granted. You can abuse your body and the following day it still performs equally well, if not better. But 40 years down the road, the
pay for it.
multiple abuses are going to be manifesting themselves in our bodies.
On that specific one, is there something like microwave-friendly dishes? And I think Eunice was partially headed there.
Apana, Jasmine, you just want to say that in the gift list for your wedding, if there's no microwave.
Yeah, I think there's like, is there something like that? Are we telling people do away with the microwave?
Well,
or-
maybe our discussion, maybe we bring it back to just hormones.
Yeah.
Do I want to have my hormones balanced? And what are the things that could disrupt my hormones?
Yeah.
And then if we keep to that lane as individuals in our choices,
Yeah.
then guess what will follow?
Yeah.
It's what you're investing in.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. When it comes to the question of hormonal imbalance, as we wrap up this topic, what are we saying? Are there remedies? Is there
Okay.
medication? Is there treatment?
Yes.
What are we telling people? Are there preventive measures?
Yes.
And I think you've alluded to it, especially when it comes to dieting,
Yeah.
the microwave question and all that. What other remedies
Yeah.
are we looking at?
Yeah. So again, the very things we said that could cause these hormonal imbalances are the things that we sort of need to individually, as a family, as an office, as an organization. And especially for organizations, this might be interesting because if you don't do that, guess what? Every year when it comes to time to insure your people medically, guess what? The claims are going to be higher.
You'll pay.
All right. So if it's sleep, what priority where do I place sleep? And I think the more urbanized we become, the faster the life. Sleep is almost like an interruption to the number of things, very important things that we need to do. All right?
Yeah.
So we end up sleeping very little, or we have poor quality sleep. And yet sleep in itself is also very important for several hormones. All right, some to be secreted, others to sort of go to sleep, to help the organs that make them to sort of like recharge.
Yeah.
All right, so sleep is a very important starting place. If you have poor quality sleep, and how do you measure that? Do you have to wear a device? Probably not. Actually, I'd say no, you don't need to. But the question is, when I wake up in the morning, do I feel well rested? If that happens once a year, once a month, once a week, twice a week only, there is a problem with your sleep quality. And one of the problems we are going to pick up down the road, just one of the many, is hormonal imbalance. What about the food that I eat? Could I take a little more effort into finding out where was it grown? how was it grown? Am I in a position to grow some of my food? And then ascertaining what is on that food as it's growing. Very, very, very important. All right? So I'm hoping that the report that will be tabled before our Senate, because I think the three bodies were charged with listing out all the different chemicals that are being used to grow food in this country. And then to actually indicate which ones may cause problems, whether it's causing cancer, whether it's causing mutations in our genes, whether it's disrupting hormones. If those could be removed from the lists of pesticides and what have you that are allowed, big step forward.
Absolutely.
But what if that doesn't happen? You and I can still take charge of what we eat and how it's grown, and influencing that by where we are willing to spend our money on what we're putting into our body. And then for ladies, what is this that I'm applying on my skin? What is it made of? All right? Very easy in our context, isn't it? Down at the coast, there's a lot of coconut oil. We can find some olive oil in the shop. We can find shea butter, I think, from our neighbors in Uganda and South Sudan. Hey, let's promote trade within Africa from Ghana, Nigeria. All right? So I think we have a lot of options. All right? What about lipstick?
Like the one I'm wearing.
You know, yes. What is that lipstick made of? You know, I've never seen any lipstick where the ingredients are actually listed. Maybe the thing that holds it is too small. I don't think there is. I've not seen any regulation or you know, the lists of what is on it. So why am I being so brave as to use it on my lips? I'm going to drink tea.
And maybe
I'm going to eat. We are ingesting, but we're also absorbing it through what? Through our lips, exactly.
Yeah, I've never seen a herbal lipstick.
Yeah. What about nail varnish?
Yeah.
All right. What am I using? What is it made of? Does it have that sharp smell of acetone? That's probably going to have an effect on what? On my hormones. So there are so many things that we can do to begin to improve what's impacting my hormones, both as ladies and as men.
Absolutely.
All right? And what's interesting is where we see hormonal imbalance usually is that we have very little progesterone and we have excessive amounts or high amounts of estrogen. And the estrogen, we are going to raise our estrogen easily from what we are making, from this fat that we've stored around our bellies, all right? But also what is known as xenoestrogens or wild estrogen from these plastics, petrochemical-based compounds. All right? Is it the oil I'm using? Is it the nail varnish? So an interesting trend here, and I stand to be stoned. But I find it interesting that these days ladies feel like they are not fully dressed if their nails are not varnished.
I know, Dan.
No problem. It's just what is in that varnish, because this has some implication. What about for young ladies who hope to become mothers? I think maybe it's even more serious, because anything that's impairing ovulation lowers your probability of what?
Conception.
Of conception. You have not ovulated perhaps. So if there is no egg, there can never be what? Conception. All right? But maybe there is an egg. You ovulate, great. But do you have, is your body in a position to produce appropriate levels of progesterone to ensure that the egg remains what? The fetus remains embedded. If that doesn't happen, what are we going to have? A miscarriage. Yes. So to a large extent, our health has a lot to do with how we interact with the environment, how we interact with people around us. And I think partly it's just about building good relationships. Good relationships with the farmer who farms your produce. Good relationships with the person who sells them, who delivers them. All around, I think it's just community. we can probably play our role as men too in helping women have their hormones in balance.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. Wow. That's beautiful.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Helpful.
I know.
And my takeout and what excites me about this conversation is that from the remedies you've talked about, I don't have to rob a bank.
Yes.
It's things I can begin to do right now. Make a choice to have my nails without polish.
Or a different way of
Or a different
polishing them.
Anyway,
Yes.
really, I mean, when the Bible says that we are fearfully and wonderfully made, really we are. We've just been immersed in the culture that I need to look a certain way when I step out of my house, but it really doesn't mean that we're any lesser than our beautiful moms were with
Yeah.
their natural hair.
Yes.
And they did coconut oil and but my mom used to put ilikuwa inaitwa gift of Zanzibar.
What is that?
She used to have a perfume
Oh, okay.
called Gift
Yes.
of Zanzibar.
Oh.
But that's all I ever found her
Wow,
with.
interesting,
We'll
yes.
do that coconut oil. And I mean, our mothers
they
were
were
really
fine.
fine.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so anyway, what I'm saying is, you haven't spoken about something that is out of our reach.
Exactly.
You know?
Yes.
Yes,
And
yes.
so we have the resources that we need to start reversing, if that is the right word, reversing and getting our hormones to be balanced and be where we are. And like I said, so that then we're living quality life. We have good relationships, we are giving our best at our workplaces, we are good mothers to
Yeah,
our
to our
children,
kids,
and hopefully good wives to our husbands, you know,
Yeah.
just because we're well in touch
Exactly.
Yeah.
with what's happening within our
Very
bodies.
intentional.
Yeah, so really
Yeah,
beautiful. Thank you
yeah,
so
it
much.
was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Asante
you're welcome.
sana.
You're welcome.
Thank you for making time.
Thank you very
and
much.
for sharing this wealth of knowledge.
Thank you
It's
for the
absolutely-
invitation.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Karibu
Yes.
sana.
Right.
All right, that's it from Midweek Vibes today. I wanted to say Homescapes, but this is Midweek Vibes today. Asanteni sana for joining us. Have a blessed week.